dark. I'm sorry. All right. Shall I start now? So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and happy Tibetan New Year. Yes, how auspicious we are meeting here in the clouds today. This is Dr. Christy Chang, and I'm truly honored and delighted to serve as your MC for today's webinar. I'm speaking to you from Taiwan, where I have the privilege of serving as the president of Sakyadhita International Association of Buddhist Women in Taiwan. As a Buddhist, it fills me with gratitude to be part of this interfaith gathering, united by our shared values and common vision of peace and understanding. Before we start, I would like to take a moment to express my heartfelt thanks to the World Union of Catholic Women's Organizations for its countless generosity in offering this webinar, and to the Dicastery of Interreligious Dialogue at the Vatican for its support to today's events. And of course, let me not forget to thank Pope Francis, who's always been so supportive of women. May the Pope be well. It is their dedication and efforts that have brought us together, creating this unique space for dialogue, reflection, and collaboration. It is through their vision and commitment that we, as women from diverse faith traditions, have the opportunity to engage in meaningful encounters across borders, cultures, and religions. Today, we come together to celebrate the United Nations Interfaith Harmony Week. And it is with great joy that I welcome you all to this special webinar. This event is a wonderful opportunity to share our perspectives, deepen our understanding, and build connections that transcend our differences. It embodies the very essence of interfaith, international, and intergenerational dialogue, a gathering of hearts and minds dedicated to cultivating a world of harmony. As women committed to interfaith dialogue, we are united in our mission to build bridges among people of different religious and cultural backgrounds. Our interreligious network of women is dedicated to fostering encounters and inviting others to join us in creating cultures of encounter all around the world. We stand on the shoulders of the women leaders who have come before us, and it is our hope to collaborate with them in expanding the spirit of encounter across national and religious boundaries. This journey began in January 2023, when women from around the world gathered at the Vatican for a conference titled, quotes, Women Building a Culture of Encounter Interreligiously, unquote. Organized by the Dicastery for Interreligious Dialogue in collaboration with the World Union of Catholic Women's Organizations, this conference was a powerful moment of connection. For many of us, it was a space where intellectual, emotional, public, private, religious, and societal dimensions all came together. We are scholars, leaders, mothers, daughters, sisters, and grandmothers. Our lives are full and complex, and our conversations reflect that richness. As women of diverse faith traditions, African traditional religion, Buddhism, Christianity, Confucianism, Hinduism, Jainism, Judaism, Islam, Shinto, Sikhism, Taoism, and Zoroastrianism. We bring a wealth of wisdom and experience to this dialogue. Yet, despite our differences, we share common challenges such as environmental degradation, poverty, violence, and erosion of respect for human dignity. Through our network, we are united as sisters committed to building both global and local networks of dialogue grounded in personal relationships. Our overarching goal is to create authentic encounters where compassion and mutual respect are at the forefront of our work. We seek to be a network of example, demonstrating through our actions that true encounter rather than division is the key to facing our common challenges with hope. To that end, we focus on three primary objectives. Number one, to educate ourselves and others about our religious traditions and their potential to foster cultures of encounter. Number two, to act together in building cultures of encounter that promote peace and honor the sacredness of all life. Number three, to amplify women's leadership in interreligious dialogue, working alongside men's leadership and collaborating with organizations that share our goals. Our manner of dialogue is just as important as the content of our conversations. We strive to speak with and for others, not at or against them. We listen attentively and compassionately, speak with humility and wisdom, and embrace silence when needed. We embody resilience and non-violence, and we do so with a gentle yet unwavering strength. Looking ahead, we will continue to deepen our work through regular meetings focused on urgent topics in our local contexts. At the same time, we will seek to amplify women's leadership in interreligious dialogue, building on the momentum of our initial encounter. This network is more than just a platform for discussion. It is a call to presence, to authentic connection, and to life-giving encounters. In a world that can feel increasingly distracted and fragmented, we believe that the religious dimension of human life offers a profound way to foster true presence and meaningful relationships. I wish to extend a warm invitation to any of you who feels called to join this network. We welcome you with open arms and are excited to continue this journey together. Before we begin, it is my great pleasure to introduce our moderator for today's session, Maria Eugenia Crespo. Maria is an active and dedicated member of the Roman Catholic Church in Argentina, where she serves as a lay collaborator with the Episcopal Commission on Ecumenism, relations with Judaism, Islam, and other religions. In addition to her work with the church, Maria is the director of member support at the United Religious Initiative, an organization committed to fostering interfaith cooperation, preventing religiously motivated violence, and creating cultures of peace, justice, and reconciliation. Maria will now illustrate to us the idea behind the intergenerational dialogue to build harmony, and introduce the panelists who will engage in the three dialogues that will follow. Now I will hand over the program over to Maria. Maria?
Hello, Christy. Hello,
Yes.
everyone. Thank you for that lovely introduction. It is true that it seems that I cannot open my screen, but when the technical people help with that, that would be fantastic. So it says that but in the meantime, I thank you, Christine, for doing such a beautiful introduction of our network. It has been such a great experience to share in January 2023, but also to continue to share the impact of women around the world. I am thrilled to be with you today all, introducing 3 different interreligious, intergenerational dialogues. When we speak about creating a culture of encounter, as His Highness Pope Francis loves to say, and we pray for his health, an appreciative dialogue that includes women of different traditions and different age groups is very important. Also, let's see, the screen is not coming. There we are. Yep, there we are. Good, here I am. So it is an experience that women around the world are very good and very effective when talking about dialogue. And not only about dialogue, it's about action. My experience at URI tells me that this is also true when talking about enduring daily interfaith cooperation. Women in action are really powerful. On the ground, bridge building work needs committed actors that value social interaction, a dialogue of life that encourages positive engagement and impactful collaboration, contributing to harmony in the community. When allowed, women of different ages are pillar to dialogue and action. Now, we're going to experience dialogues among women of different ages. Let's pay attention to these amazing women involved in building a culture of encounter in their communities. As you attentively listen to their testimony, please write in the chat relevant words that you hear. Those outstanding concepts that can help us as a reminder when we are doing the work at home. Arshna kindly will be creating a word cloud to be shared at the end of the webinar. And we can put it as a screenshot in our computers. So we are reminded what are the values behind working together for peace, justice, and healing. Are you intrigued of these dialogues? Do you want to start with the first one? I bet you are. Let me introduce to our dear Rabbi Tamar Elad Applebaum. She is the founder of, let me put it big so that she's the founder of Zion, an Ezrat Israeli congregation in Jerusalem, co-founder of Beit Midrash for Israeli rabbis at Hartman Institute and Hamid Drasha at Oranim, board member of Takmer. Her work spans and links tradition and innovation, working toward Jewish spiritual, ethical renaissance, served as rabbi in the congregation of Mahen Abraham in the Negev, as a congregational rabbi in White Plains in New York, alongside Rabbi Gordon Tucker. In 2010, she was named by the Forward as one of the 5 most influential female religious leaders in Israel for her work promoting pluralism, human dignity. She is a second year, and she will be in dialogue with Juanita, who is a second-year student attending Benedictine University, majoring health science and minoring in theology. First in her family to pursue collegiate studies, and a first-generation student who aspires to work in medical laboratory. Important to say that Rabbi Tamar is a Jew, that Juanita is a Christian, and they are amazing leaders. It was such a great experience to share our encounter with Tamar in the Vatican and continue as a friend. So Tamar, Juanita, the floor is yours. And thank you for sharing your experience and your work for harmony in the world.
Good morning, all, or good afternoon, good evening. Very nice to meet you all. I just wanted to say thank you for having me. And if Rabbi Tamar could share a little bit more about herself so that we can all know her a little bit more.
Thank you, Juanita. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Maria. I want to thank all our sisters who are here and many others, the mothers who enabled us to sit here and speak of the word that I always have, so I never forget where we're going to. Shalom, peace, to a world that has justice and equality and freedom and dignity for all. I know that in this moment there are so many people and nations who suffer, and I want to send my prayers for all of them. And may all the holy work that each one of us does, may it water our world with faith and with hope and with healing. And may we bring better days. And Juanita, seeing you and the next generation is my hope. So thank you. So my name is Tamel. I'm a rabbi, a Jewish rabbi here in Jerusalem, in the Holy City. I am the rabbi of a congregation called Zion. It's a congregation which is very unique because we have Jews from all denominations who are ultra-Orthodox, Orthodox, Reform, Conservative, secular, all kinds of Jews from all lifestyles who come together. But not only that, we also work together with our very, very close community, with Muslims, Palestinians, with Christians, with Druze, with Bedouins, and it's our honor to live here in this holy city, which does not belong to us, it belongs to God, and to be serving together and to be doing so with love. I'm also the head of the seminary, the Israeli Seminary for Rabbis. It's also a seminary that's just like the community, but it's spread all around Israel. It's a national seminary, and we have 100 alumni who come from all denominations in Jewish society. They come from the ultra-Orthodox world, the Orthodox world, the Reform, the Conservative, the secular, all kinds of lifestyles and people and families and thoughts and ideas, but all of them feel that they are here to serve together and to serve all our human family together. And we too have a lot of work that we do with Christians and Muslims and Bedouin and Druze, and it is our honor to serve in this holy land. So being here and seeing you, Juanita, the next generation and the first to be learning in this realm and to be leading us today, that is my joy on the way to our Shabbat, our Sabbath here in Jerusalem.
Thank you, Rabbi Tamar. I would like to begin by asking you, how did you become a rabbi? What is it like to be a woman rabbi?
Thank you. I always laugh because I was absolutely not supposed to be a rabbi. I come from a world when women were not, they did not do that. I never met a woman rabbi until a very older age. I always loved the rabbis who taught us. They were all men. And I was very, very connected to my family, which was always very connected to the tradition and to the faith. My grandparents and my parents always learned and always taught and went to pray in the prayer house in the synagogue. So I would sit there and pray with them and be the helper, the little helper, as a granddaughter of my grandparents. And I watched them and couldn't imagine that it's something I wouldn't be able to do. So I was not supposed to become a rabbi. But as I grew, I remember one of my best friends, who today also is a rabbi here in Jerusalem, an Orthodox rabbi, and he said to me, we have done exactly the same thing all our life. The only difference is that you are a woman and I am a man, but we always loved the people, served the people. So when we were about 21, he told me that he will become a rabbi only if I become a rabbi too. And I was married for 1 month, and I came back home to my husband, Joseph, and I said to him, you won't believe. Daniel, our friend, just told me that there were women rabbis in history, in Turkey, in Morocco, in Poland, and that there were many Jewish leaders that we read about in the Torah, in the Hebrew Bible, about Sarah and Rebecca and Miriam and Dvorah and Esther. And Danny told me that he won't become a rabbi unless I become one too. And my husband Joseph, he hugged me strong with his arms, and he said, I know you from a very young age, and you were meant to be a rabbi and to dedicate your life to the people. And then he said something beautiful. He said, look at your grandmother. Your grandmother dedicates all her life to the family. She brings the family together. She makes sure the family is loving and caring and has mercy in its heart and never loses anyone and always loves everyone. And he said, this is what we need to do all around in the public sphere and everywhere. We need to create a language of care. And so he said, we need you as a woman to go out to the public and do it not only in the private house, but in the public house. And you know, today in Israel is Family Day. So on Family Day, I want to call all the women, all the sisters, all the grandmothers and granddaughters. We are teachers of care, teachers of love. We talk to our children and we see their differences and love them always. We teach a language of togetherness, of love, of care, of listening, of making room for others, of humbleness, of peace and harmony. And this is a language very much needed in this moment in the world. So may we all be leaders in the private sphere and in the public sphere and create a public language of care and dignity for all.
A next question for you. What is it like? What does a day or a week look like as a rabbi?
First, I want to say that I always feel God gives me a bit more than 24 hours. I don't know how it happens, but it's so much. I always open my day very early in study and prayer. I don't start the day without it because it gives me a compass. I am here to do the work of God. I follow God. And as God brought the sun up, so I'm not here to create darkness, God forbid, but only light. And I need to bring myself and remind myself because I'm only human and I could get lost and confused. So I have to go back and remind myself and start every day and also throughout the day, make sure to pray and to study. And then I go out to the work, the labor which I've taken upon myself, and I meet with people and I sit with them and I listen to them. I think our Hebrew Bible and our ancestors always said that we have 2 ears and 2 eyes and 1 mouth. So we speak less and listen and see more. So I try to do that. And I go to the sick and I visit them. And I go to people who have lost their beloved. In these days in Israel, I also escort hostage families and also bereaved families. And I support many, many people who are here all around us, who are Muslims and Christians and Bedouins and Druze. There's so many who need our attention. It's never a world of either or. It's only a world of this and the other. We only save ourselves together. And we have a lot of efforts of charity and a lot of dialogues with our brothers who are Muslims and Christians. And I talk a lot in the public sphere. You know, it was hard for me because for a very long time in the public sphere, I would wait for the men to talk. And I would say to myself, they know how to do it, they'll do it. But as time goes by, I say to myself, they should do it and we should do it as well. We know how to speak a language of bravery, of courage, courage to save the body and courage to save the soul. We can't save only one of them. We need to save both. And sometimes to save the body, you need to stand up. And to save the soul, you need to listen to the other one standing up. So it's a very complicated labor, and it needs all of us in it and the voices of women. And then I come back home very, very, very typically to be with my family. I spend a lot of time with my family to make sure that the house here is full of light and food and care and love, and not to give up. We can do both, and we can teach to do both, and we can teach that there's not one who saves the world, but only many who do the labor of God together.
Thank you, Rabbi. My next question for you is, what is a teaching or an idea from Judaism that is very important to you that you would like to share with us?
So there's a beautiful teaching. There are so many, and it's very hard to choose. But you know, these days are hard everywhere around the world. And sometimes I feel I just want to take a blanket and put it on my head and sleep and wake up 10 years from now when everything is okay. Sometimes it's hard. There's so many wars, so many poverties and poor and poverty and sadness and much fear, and people are worried. And there's a beautiful tradition in our Jewish oral law that says when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is you open your eyes and you say thank you. The word and the name Jew, Yehudi, comes from todah, to say thank you. First you say thank you. Thank you for giving me time. Thank you for allowing me to participate in your world, the world of the Creator, the world of God that is always, always kind and generous and gives us a second chance. And then it says you have to stand up and start the day, not stay in your blanket and say someone else will do this. No, you stand up and you say there is someone else, but I have to join him or her or them and do this together. And then we have a tradition that praying is something we do together with 10 adults who chose to stand together to make some more light in this world together. I love the whole notion in our Jewish tradition called mitzvah. Mitzvah means to make a deed, to say, I can't leave these ideas in my head or not even in my heart. I need to create them with my hands, with my legs, to go to the sick and be with them, to stand for peace, to bring back the hostages, to care for all human beings and all nations. This is something I need to do with my hands. So mitzvah means a commandment to do, to participate, to stand up, but it also means, as said one of the greatest rabbis in our Jewish world, the Baal Shem Tov, in the 18th century, it also means to come together, to know that there's always someone outside. And this is something I want to say, you know, I'm a Jew with all the Jewish history, and my family was saved by a priest, a Jesuit priest in France in the time of the Holocaust. And my grandfather, who was saved by him, always said to me, and my grandfather was very, very religious, very ultra Orthodox. He was the last leader prayer in his village after the Holocaust, when many, many didn't come back. And he told me, if there's something I learned, is that there's always someone there outside who is courageous, brave, and kind. So mitzvah is to know that there's always someone there, courageous, brave, and kind, with which we could make a bit more light and save the world just a bit and become holier. So this is really what I hope for every day, to do mitzvot, to stand up in the morning after I opened my eyes and said, thank you, todah, and then to go out and to do deeds of justice, deeds of mercy, of care, and to always do it together with all the kind, courageous, and brave people who are all around us, from all religions and from all peoples and nations.
Thank you, Rabbi Tamar. As we are all here, coming from all different religions, prayer really unites us all. And I would like to ask if you have any advice in growing in prayer. that you would like to share?
Thank you. I feel that prayer is the most important thing we have. It's the moment in which we understand that we need help. Praying is calling for help. It's saying that we need God's help. It's a moment of humbleness, and it's a very vulnerable moment. And I think many of our grandmothers and sisters and daughters teach us that we have the power of praying. I also want to say that one of the things I love in Jewish tradition, and I know that in many others, is also to say that it's something you learn, and it's something that sometimes you lose and then you need to bring back, and to sometimes say, I need help in prayer. So in our Jewish tradition, we always pray together. As I said, we pray the most important, the most holy prayers only together, and we hold each other and we help each other and care for each other. And you know, this specific day today for Jewish tradition is the beginning of the month of happiness, of joy. And it's also on the way to a Sabbath talking about the joy of building a home. And it says that in the home of God, in the Mishkan, at the very center of the home of God, of the temple, the Jewish temple, there was the Torah, there was the Bible, the scripture. But just above it, there were two angels who were standing facing each other, watching each other, caring for each other. And our ancestors say that this is the only way to hold this life, to look for those two, always watching each other, always caring for each other. We never pray alone. Even in the most difficult moments, we look for someone who needs our help, and we pray with him and for him or for them or for every human being. So even when I stand lonely in the middle of the night and I pray, my grandparents and my parents taught me to close my eyes, open my heart, and think who are all the people around us who are now standing just in front of my eyes. And I look at them and they look at me and we pray for each other. The word prayer in Hebrew means not to fall and to pave a way in reality until we arrive to God. We hold each other not to fall, not to despair, and we pave the way together to each other, always towards each other, always in dialogue, always with 2 ears listening, always with an open, caring heart, and with a believing soul until we reach each other. And this is what I want to end with. I want to say that this is a moment that there is so much hatred. We thought that the epidemic of the COVID was difficult, but the truth is that the epidemic of extremism and hate is much more difficult. It's all around. But I know in the middle of the night, when I close my eyes and open my soul, I know that my sisters are all around me, in every religion, in every nation, and I go towards them and I feel them going towards me. So from here, on this Friday in Jerusalem, I send all my sisters and all our human family my hope and my trust and my faith that we do not pray alone. We hold each other so we do not fall, and we pave a way together so we arrive holiness, God willing.
Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Dear Rabbi Tamar, do you have a question for Juanita?
I want to ask Juanita, I want to ask in your heart, could you tell us what the world that you dream of looks like? And what you need from the women leaders? What do you need from all these women leaders so you can become a great woman leader as you grow older and older for many long years, God willing, in your life and in your vocation?
I think the world that I dream of, everybody has a mutual respect for each other, and I believe that with respect comes love. So loving one another despite the differences, despite the disagreements we may have, I think above all is love. And I think that many nations, many people are lacking in that respect. And I think that's something that the world really needs right now. And I think coming from you guys, I would love to see more of you guys in dialogue with each other, discussing more world problems or even your opinions on them to see how um, to get how someone should respond and how to see you know, different points of views to better understand people.
That was beautiful, Juanita. Such a commitment for all of us to create that world that you dream. Any other question, Tamar, for Juanita?
Yes. I want to ask you, Juanita, what helps you in your journey of faith?
What helps me in my journey of faith is always having someone who I can go to in the hard times, because I think during the hardships of life is a place where one can really grow and flourish and learn more about oneself and just learning how to deal with the hardships and you know maintaining a good heart in spite of all of it, and somebody that I can like right now in my life that I can trust in guidance um and guidance is my father. He was the one who brought me into Christianity and getting to know God in my family. And yeah.
This is so beautiful. We are so thankful, Tamar, Juanita, that you brought inspiration. I feel everybody in the audience must be very happy, but also looking forward to live into what you have modeled. Dialogue implies listening, as you say, Tamar, but also bravery and courage. And we know through Juanita that young women and men expect that we stand up, as you said, and have a good dialogue and work together for peace, for the world we want or they want to live in. It's not a fragmented world. It's not a world where there's pain and sorrow and killing and bringing hostages back home with pain and children and women suffering around the world. They don't want that. And they are doing their best, but we as adults have to accompany them, as you say. We have to come together. And so we are thankful for your testimony, for your care, as Tamara said, for your bravery, and also the fresh dream of young peoples around the world are calling us, is calling us to take action and work together. We ask all the audience to breathe in all this knowledge, all this care and love. And as we prepare for the next dialogue, open our hearts to the change that needs to happen. And now we will hear from Ashna, a Jain, in dialogue with Dija, a Hindu. They are teacher and student, both building a culture of encounter in their different social environments. Please pay attention to their conversation and continue to pick up the words that are meaningful to you. Just, you will be seeing this in the chat, but Ashna is a member of the Jain community and a volunteer with the Institute of Jainology and One Jain organization, has an avid interest in Jain religious art and architecture, and has lectured at the Victoria and Albert Museum. She is a diabetes specialist, pharmacist by profession. She was born in Kenya. Dija is a 17-year-old student born into a Hindu family in London, currently studying for her A-levels and is hoping to study English at the university. She was raised Hindu. She's a school with multi-faith, culturally diverse student population, and her avid interest is in filmmaking, photography, music, and she writes poetry. Wow, we have a talented group for a second dialogue. Arshna, Dija, please, the floor is yours.
Hello there and welcome. My name's Arshna Sangrajkar. I'm a person of the Jain faith, a lay person in the Jain faith, and I'm very privileged to introduce to you Diya Tubani, who's a young student born into a Hindu family who practices her spirituality quite avidly here in London. Both of us are based here in London. In terms of background, they are 17 years old and she's a student studying for her A-levels here in London, actually just getting ready for her academic career and older life career. So Diya, tell us a little bit about yourself as a young person living and being a practicing Hindu. How relevant do you think the teachings of Hinduism are for other faiths in the world today?
I actually think that Hinduism's teachings remain increasingly relevant in today's society, especially how diverse and interconnected it is. I think that ahimsa, which is non-violence, has a strong emphasis in our growing global conversations about sustainability and social justice. I also think that in a world where people from different backgrounds are constantly engaging and conversing with each other, Hinduism's teachings on tolerance and acceptance are vital. But yeah, for me personally, Hinduism always encourages spiritual growth in many different forms. So, it's like a unifying thread, one could say, that inspires like a peaceful coexistence. And especially for me, my approach to spirituality is very different to a traditional sense, since it's quite flexible, and it allows, like, Hinduism has allowed me to adapt its core principles into ways that resonate with me and my lifestyle.
What would they look like? Tell us a little bit about, like, maybe on a daily basis, what kind of one or two things that you do that brings your religion to life for you?
So I meditate every day, and I have been since a very young age. My whole family do, in fact. Also, basic teachings on compassion and non-violence, I think I take them with me and I hold them with me through every single interaction that I have. I think it's very important, and they're not just, like, you know, for Hindus, let's say. It could be for everyone. But yeah. As being older, from your perspective, do you think, how relevant do you think that Jainism and interfaith dialogue is?
I think that's a really good question. I think Jainism is very relevant to interfaith dialogue because in this day and age, especially in London, in the UK, where we live with many diverse cultures, it's really relevant. There's a principle called Anikantvad, which means the principle of many-sidedness. The truth has many angles, many sides to it. And I think that really resonates with me, with a lot of different faiths. For example, you as a Hindu could be right in seeing the truth of a situation from your perspective. Equally, if I had a Muslim friend, from their perspective and their standpoint, they will be making their judgments based on the things which they've experienced in life and their teachings. So, and they're equally valid. That's not to say that what I'm saying is superior or inferior. It's just a valid standpoint from wherever you are. And that teaches a lot of tolerance. So not just in interfaith, but also in work, in life. You're able to appreciate and accept other people for what they are and what they stand for.
Yeah.
And understand them a little bit better. So I think this is increasingly relevant. Also, I think there's some principles which are universal. So if you look at ecology, having respect for nature, and like you, ahimsa, living peacefully and bringing those peaceful values in life.
Yeah.
Vegetarianism is all part of that as well. And, if you look at aparigraha, which is the principle of non-materialism, that's equally relevant in a materialistic world. So I think from a Jain perspective, whilst we think of these as Jain vows, I think they're very relevant and applicable to all faiths and all cultures now. So I think that's equally important. I think I want to ask you something similar in terms of why do you think it's important to have dialogue with other religions and other cultures from your perspective?
So important. I think that it broadens not only our understanding, but it also fosters our empathy for others, and also it opens up a stage for shared solutions for global challenges. I think that there are so many opportunities for learning when we are able to discuss our faith and our culture, because it's important to understand different viewpoints from your own that differ from your own. I mean, it also helps to challenge prejudices and misconceptions of different cultures, which is amazing because it just breaks down these walls of division that have been holding us back from being such a united community. But ultimately,
and being young, do you feel that's important?
I really do. I think that for me personally, I've always thought that we shouldn't put names on our faith. I think that faith at its core is about connection to the divine and others, and labels can sometimes hinder that connection or at least limit it. I also think that in today's world, faith has it's more about lived experiences and kindness and moral values rather than specific doctrines, let's say. And I think that once we start accepting others and each other's beliefs and religions, I think that for me that's really important, that I can live in harmony with others without hurting anyone or making anyone upset.
Yeah, and that resonates very well with me as well. I think when you look at the world around us, there are so many wars and conflicts in the name of religion, isn't it? So actually what you're saying with not giving labels to religion really does resonate, and it's really heartening to see that as a young person living in a multi-diverse faith community, that's actually quite important to you.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, how do you feel that you live in harmony with other faiths, like for example at school or just in your immediate surroundings? What kind of things do you do to actually build that harmony?
So for me, living in London, obviously it's a very multicultural society, and the school that I go to, I mean, everyone is of a different background, whether it's religious, cultural, or just where they even come from. But I think it's so essential to practice my values for my faith, because they've been instilled in me from a very, very young age, and also growing up with the teaching to love everyone equally, and it's just shaped my understanding of how to engage with others. And my parents have instilled that in me from a very young age, and it's held me in such good stead when I interact with others, and it means that I'm more open to respecting others and being open and curious rather than judgmental. And I think that again, it's not only a Hindu thing to do. I think it's actually many cultures believe that about having compassion, and I'm sure it's the same in Jainism. And I think it's easier to embrace diversity and to coexist with people of different beliefs than it is to actually hate. When you really do think about it, it's always easier to love one another than it is to spew judgment and racism or just anything. But I think faith as well, at its essence, is about, like, you know, the pursuit of love, of truth, of peacefulness. And when we focus on those universal values rather than these rigid dogmas, it becomes a lot easier to like appreciate the common ground and initiate it, at least with each other, work with each other. Yeah.
And do you think, sort of from a young age, things like storytelling and all of these things have helped to build your faith? As a young person, how did you learn about some of the values of your faith?
So a lot of it came from stories that my parents would tell me about at night, whether it be about Hanuman, or, like, you know, like child versions of the Mahabharata, which is a very sacred text in Hinduism. And those texts managed to translate very, very heavy spiritual, like, teachings into ways that humans can understand, which I think is so important, that, and it's been brought down generation after generation after generation. Like, my grandparents used to read to me, now my parents do, and I'll probably do the same to my kids, because I think it's not always about the religion, but it's rather the important ethical teaching, like compassion, like ahimsa. Yeah.
That's super to hear. I wanted to ask you one last question about really women and interfaith dialogue. As a young woman yourself, what role do you think women have in fostering interreligious dialogue in the world today?
Well, for me, of course, women and men are the equal, like, in my eyes, they are equal. And obviously I know that we're still getting to that point in society, but I know for a fact in Hinduism, women have played such a crucial role in, like, the mythology, in, like, preaching, in everything. I think that it's just, everyone needs to have this openness and willingness to accept that anyone can talk about religion, anyone can have an opinion and voice it, because it's such a basic human right. And when people are more, like, open to that, I think then we can live in this harmony where, you know, everyone can speak about what they feel. And once we get over this, like, little bump of, like, you know, judgment or prejudice, I mean, it will be amazing.
That's super. I think as an older person, I have a slightly differing view as such in terms of women. I think my role as a mother, I have 3 children, and I think my role as a mother puts a little different focus, and I think being older, I always see women as the holders of religion, religious values that pass down. So earlier you mentioned your parents had taught you, read you stories, and I think the role of a woman as a mother, as a parent, is quite different in holding and passing on religious values. And I think we always think of the women as being homemakers. So like you rightly said, the values and the thoughts that you have making of the family, I think is very important. And the role of a woman is so diverse and important with that. I think also as a woman, we have a slightly softer side, and we don't have as many big egos. So I feel that, like, it's easier for me to talk to another woman of faith. And to identify some of the things as women we go through. You know, motherhood, family values, those kind of things are so universal. So I think identification as women between cultures and religions is easier. And I think because of the softness of the emotional values, we're able to understand people slightly differently. And we're also the transition in generations. You know, a mother will birth the next generation. Equally, a mother will care for the generation that's just passed up. So, you know, I think that caring role of a female is just so important. And that, bringing that to interreligious dialogue, I think is key, because it gives you a different perspective and a different way of appreciating each other's faith. And actually, from a young age, if I embrace that value of interreligious dialogue, my children will have the same. I'm able to influence them in the same way. So I feel, you know, age, gender, and this intergenerational dialogue as women is so important as well.
Agreed, and I think it changes, but in a different way. Like, it's not for the bad, but I think that now my generation are using these, like, you know, these ideas that come from religion and teachings, and we're applying them to our daily lives rather than, you know, going to temple every day or praying in the morning or anything really. And I think that that's the beauty of religion, because it can be interpreted in so many different ways, and people can still have the same, like, you know, end goal of, like, you know, trying to attain enlightenment or to get into heaven.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really amazing thought. But that's it from the two of us today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dia.
Thank you for having me.
I really hope that we've given you a small insight of what intergenerational dialogue looks like in a multi-diverse area. So thank you, Dia.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
And a big, big, big thank you. I think that the Mentimeter will bring the word appreciation several times. It is such a core value for dialogue and for working together to build a different world. Arshna, Dia, the way that you relate as teacher and student is already a model of this dialogue that we want to see, because I felt it was super respectful. The experiences that you both bring, living in London, as you say, a pluralistic, with a pluralistic environment, and learning to live in deep appreciation of this diversity, understanding that there's seed of truth everywhere, and you have to be open to receive it, to appreciate it, to bring that into dialogue. Yes, as you well say, Arshna, we are mothers and grandmothers, and we are building as women, and we have a special role to play because we have a lot of influence. And yes, pluralism is not only in the place where we live, but also through social media. So it's such a challenge to address it with respect, as you were saying, Jija. I think you brought so much to us. Again, I think that the Mentimeter is pouring love and words of appreciation. And are you ready for the next and last dialogue? But what if we just breathe in everything that we had heard from Arshna and Dija to hear the last but not least dialogue, which will be between Ruth Makwariba, who's based in Malawi, from the African traditional religion, and Dewi, a Muslim from Java, Indonesia. We ask that you please continue to bring the words of that resonate in your heart and in your mind, and continue doing this an experience that is not just listening, but it is learning, so that you are able to replicate, to bring these learnings to your everyday life. And just for you to know a little bit more about Ruth, she is a professional in hospitality expert, business lady, and motivational speaker. She's born to a Christian family in the city of Blantyre, Malawi. She was called by the ancestors to African traditional religion, and since then she has been an advocate of this belief system seen through African cultural context. She serves as secretary for the African Traditional Religion Women's Group, as well as treasurer for this organization. Dewi is alumnus at the Notre Study Foundation Scholarship. Since 2017, she has been actively involved in the Gududusian Network and the Interfaith Brotherhood of Semarang. Currently, she serves as the head of public relations and cooperation bureau at Pignatelli Truputra University, Jakarta, Indonesia. And she's passionate about social and humanitarian activities. It promises to be an amazing dialogue. Please our hearts with you, Ruth and Dewi.
Hi everyone, I'm Dewi Praswida. I come from Indonesia. I am the alumni of Nostra Aetate Foundation Scholar on 2019, and now I'm serving as the head of partnership and public relations at Tignatelli Triputra University, Central Java, Indonesia.
Hello everyone, my name is Ruth Nkwaila. I come from Malawi, Africa, and I belong to the African traditional religion. African traditional religion is the indigenous religion of the African people. It dates back to many centuries ago. So, I serve on the board of African Traditional Religion Malawi as the secretary to the Women's Chapter for the Southern Region of Malawi, as well as the treasurer for the region of Malawi. I am also an interreligious dialogue ambassador that represents African traditional religion on various platforms where intercultural and interfaith dialogue discussions are concerned. For the longest time, African traditional religion has not been involved in interreligious dialogue. However, at the beginning of the 2000s, that was when African traditional religion started getting involved in these kinds of discussion. So we no longer operated in isolation. So I am the ambassador of interreligious dialogue. That means I get to certain platforms where we promote peace, tolerance, harmony, and coexistence with people of different faiths from Malawi as well as from all over the world. Thank you very much. So I've got a few questions for you, Devi, from Indonesia. My first question to you is, how has youth participation contributed to cultural and interfaith dialogue in Indonesia? How has youth participation contributed to cultural and interfaith dialogue in your country of Indonesia?
Hi Ruth, thank you for your question. We know that youth participation has played a crucial role in fostering interreligious and intercultural dialogue, especially in Indonesia. Through many initiatives, young people can gather in meaningful conversation and they can build the bridge. And in this era of social media, which most young people using social media, they can share the message of tolerance, the message of harmony in wider scopes or in wider spaces. By that message, young people can break the stereotypes and they can have a mutual understanding to make harmony and peace in this world come true.
Secondly, I'd like to know, Indonesia being a predominantly Muslim country, how is the general environment of harmony and coexistence with minority, faith, and cultural groups?
Indonesia has a long history about cultural and religious harmony. When we talk about Indonesia, it means we talk about diversity. Upheld by the motto of Indonesia, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, that means unity in diversity. Indonesia has many regions, and in every region, they always try to show the coexistence between a religion, culture, by collaborate in many activities. Beside from the people, the government itself also doing many initiatives to make sure that everyone in Indonesia has their right to believe in religion, to believe in God, and to do their prayer.
And thirdly, I would like to know, I know that you youths are the leaders of tomorrow, meaning to say that the future is in your hands. Do you think that the current interventions and encounters that we are using right now address the issues of conflict among different cultural and faith groups are having an impact in your country? If not, what are your suggestions?
Hi Ruth, we know that many initiatives have had their positive impact. But in every positive impact, there is still a room to do an improvement. Many programs that focus on dialogue and reconciliation, they are often limited in scope. That's why we really need the grassroots program. Means that we are engaging with any level of community, and the dialogue or the reconciliation is not only about the elite, but the dialogue and the reconciliation is also touch the marginalized people, the marginalized community. And one of the most important thing that we shouldn't forget or we shouldn't skip is strengthening the role of education by the early age. We know education has a really crucial, a really important role to promote peace and harmony. And the last, the policymakers should support the initiative from the youth, and they must be open to the youth so the youth can suggest their idea to solve this problem. The more youth participated, the more idea that we can take or we can choose to solve the problem. Hi Ruth, how are you? Okay, let me ask you some questions. First, we know that Malawi has a rich cultural heritage and diverse religious tradition. How do traditional customs and religious beliefs in Malawi complement each other in everyday life?
Malawi as a country has got a very diverse cultural heritage and as well as diverse religious traditions. For example, Malawi has got a lot of tribes. We've got Tumbukas, Ngonis, Lomwes, Chewas, Yawas, and various many other tribes. Others are in majority, others in minority. Despite having such a diverse cultural heritage and beliefs, we are able to peacefully coexist with one another. There has not been any forms of civil war coming from the fact that another tribe is fighting with another tribe. So generally, Malawi, despite of the fact that it has got a very diverse cultural heritage, we are able to live and coexist with one another. And intermarriages are also a common thing. They are not even something to be frowned upon.
Interfaith and intercultural are essential in maintaining harmony. How do different religious and cultural communities in Malawi collaborate to promote mutual understanding and social cohesion?
On the other hand, we also have a very diverse religious traditions. That is to say, we've got Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, African traditional religion, and many other various minority faiths. Whilst Christians and Muslims are in majority, the other minority faiths easily do exist and do whatever they are supposed to do in the communities without any form of violence, as well as anything that may want to hold them back. Sometimes there might be misunderstandings here and there, as you know, in the communities, but these are usually very minor issues that are generally solved at community level. And most of the times, upon discussion, a lot of the issues that may emanate from religious differences are amicably resolved. As such, I believe that our various traditional beliefs as well as religious beliefs do complement each other in our day-to-day lives. For example, the government has created a harmonized calendar where the various traditional groupings hold their festivals. In fact, it is encouraged for people of different tribes to attend other tribes just for them to understand and respect others' traditions. On the other hand, there is also a well-harmonized calendar on holidays where different faith groups do hold their holidays. For example, Christmas, Eid, and other important religious holidays. In such a setting, we will realize that the rest of the country is able to respect and live in harmony and mutual understanding.
The last question. In some part of the world, young people are less engaged with the tradition due to the modern lifestyle. Do you see this trend in Malawi? And how do the religious and cultural leaders to address it?
Now, there has been modernization where the coming of the internet as well as the usage of smartphones. Initially, it was believed that maybe the modernization would have an effect on our cultural and religious beliefs. However, I would like to state that I've realized that the coming of modernization has actually helped in promoting religious as well as cultural beliefs. The internet is a great tool that has also been used in my country as a tool for disseminating positive information on the importance of cultural beliefs as well as religious beliefs. That is to say, it is a lot easier now to learn about another person's beliefs through the internet. However, as the youth are also advised to tread carefully as there is a lot of misinformation on the internet. But the positives outrun the negatives. Malawi generally is a peaceful nation. As I mentioned earlier on, that it is a very diverse nation culturally and religiously. However, despite being such a diverse nation, there has never been issues of conflict or civil or war that come as a result of differences in religion and cultural beliefs. I believe that Malawi is a model country where people can learn that it's okay, it is possible to peacefully coexist with people of different faith and cultural beliefs.
Wow. We have heard from Debbie and Ruth, and now we understand how important is grassroots in interfaith dialogue. It's not only about leaders, it's about grassroots. And also how important government decisions are in the bringing of coexistence. I love to hear of the Indonesian motto of Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, that means unity in diversity. It's a concept I love for interfaith dialogue. It speaks about grounding in our faith to open to dialogue with others. It was also great to learn about how different tribes and religions coexist in Malawi and the creation of a harmonized calendar to allow everyone to participate in feasts and celebrations of other communities. That's a lot that is being done and a lot more to be done. And it is great to have you all here to think how we can all, each and everyone, it's not about those on screen, it's each and every one of us can bring peace, justice, and healing to the world. And it is our commitment to do so. As I finish this amazing webinar that has brought many women from many countries, from many languages, living many different stories, and having even some technical issues and different levels of accessibility. But this shows a little bit of the world and the world that we want to see, and that there are actors in every corner. So we have to take responsibility. We have to do as our dear Rabbi Tamar said, be brave and courageous and see what is needed to be seeded for peace in the world. We see a lot of fragmentation, but now we have seen the world of those who are working for peace. We are so thrilled to have been witness this. We are super thankful for each of the persons that participated in dialogues, for their efforts to record or to be here different times of day. And before we give the word to Monica, representing our hosts, we ask Archana to share the word cloud, because this word cloud is our world cloud. It's the world cloud that we created together while reflecting, meditating, inhaling all what these 6 amazing women have shared. Wow. There has been such a huge participation, right? You will receive, those who have shared your emails, you will receive this amazing word cloud, because we can pick each and every word and have a reflection day. There's also a QR there so that you can open it at home with your phone. But I see that hope and harmony and care, justice, prayer, humbleness, coexistence, and together are words that have been repeated the most. And I see light, and in the midst of unfortunate darkness, you are all a little bit of that light. And we are getting the light together today. So, Monica, from the World Union of Catholic Women's Organizations, I give you the floor as a host, as I thank MC, Christy, everyone and that is behind the scenes doing the technical, all those women that participated in the Vatican in January the 23rd, 2023, and have been in contact to create this and many others opportunities for us to learn and to work together. Thank you is there in the word cloud. Thank you each and everyone, and thank you, Monica, for your closing remarks.
Okay. No. Thank you, you for such a wonderful, wonderful event. It really, as you say, we hear so much of fragmentation, and now we're listening a lot about how people are working together for peace. It is great. As we reach the conclusion of this inspiring and enlightening webinar, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the World Union of Catholic Women's Organization. It's a very long name, but you can call it WUCWO, to each and every one of you for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Chang, Maria Eugenia, Isabel Matran, Ana Maria Esclavo from the Dicastery. Thank you, Lavinia Rochi, our Secretary General. And thank you to all those, this small group of women from the network who helped to make this event possible. I know many people worked on this, some of them on the cameras, some of them below the cameras, but all of them did a great job, and thank you very much for it. If not, we couldn't have achieved this great event. This encounter, hosted on the occasion of the World Interfaith Harmony Week, has been a testament to the power of dialogue and the strength of women's leadership in fostering interfaith harmony. Special thanks to the Dicastery for Interreligious Dialogue for their support and their patronage in the organization of this webinar, and particularly for the close collaboration the Dicastery and WUCWO have been constructing in the past years for the fostering of interreligious dialogue among brothers and sisters, as we all are. We firmly believe that interfaith dialogue is essential for the good of humanity and the building of peace and fraternity. In effect, as many of you know, in the past 5 years, WUCWO, in the framework of his work for interfaith dialogue and ecumenism, has been working together and reflecting with women of faith, leaders in their communities, on some issues as the role and commitment toward the promotion of hope, human fraternity, crisis and resilience, perspectives on synodality, and on peace and the culture of encounter. We have been working together on this with the dicastery, and we have taken the opportunity to commemorate each year with a special webinar, International Women's Day. On this occasion, we decided to take on the challenge of organizing this event, contributing to the World Interfaith Harmony Week. This initiative asks religious leaders to engage in a dialogue based on two common fundamental religious commandments: love of God and love of the neighbor. As part of a World Interfaith group, we have had the opportunity to come together again as people of goodwill, to show to the world the powerful role of women, our commitment, good faith, and significant contributions toward fostering interfaith harmony and building a culture of encounter. In this context, allow me to express our deep gratitude for Pope Francis, a great promoter and supporter of interreligious dialogue. We want to thank him here, among other things, for Fratelli Tutti and for hosting in Rome the first interreligious conference organized by the Dicastery for the Interreligious Dialogue with WUCWO and the Pontifical Urbaniana University. This 3-day conference took place on February 2023, and the theme was Women Building a Culture of Encounter Interreligiously. As Dr. Chang told us, it was after this meeting that the Interreligious Network of Women Cultivating Encounter was founded. So it was really a very important moment for all of us. Today, we have had the privilege of listening to 6 remarkable women from different religions, countries, and age groups who have engaged in interreligious generational dialogues about faith and harmony. Special thanks to them for their generous participation in the 3 dialogues we just witnessed. The spontaneity, new ideas, and energy of the young women, together with the experience and maturity of other women some years older, teach us a lot. Their personal stories, insights, and experiences have illuminated the path toward a more harmonious and understanding world. Thank you all for showing us that regardless of different ages, religious traditions, and cultures, we can hold deep dialogues, listen to one another, share ideas, and work together for the promotion of our common values, building with hope the culture of encounter. Ravita Mar has shown us the importance of tradition and innovation in the struggle for human dignity. Juanita, from her side, has brought a fresh perspective to our dialogue. We really acknowledge your valuable contributions to this webinar. Jamar, what a beautiful way to have been turned into a rabbi. How you start the day, each day, by praying. And how do you used to pray not alone, but always pray with others? What a beautiful teaching for everybody, at least for me. And I'm sure that for many of us. Undoubtedly, the way in which unity in diversity has been achieved in Indonesia and Malaysia fills us with hope, as we can see that it is possible for people of different religious traditions, cultures, and ages to live together peacefully in different countries, communities. And of course, if you have the government's help, it is always much easier, as we can see in the examples they gave you. Thank you, Dewi, for showing us the crucial role of young people and social networks, if used correctly, in fostering interfaith dialogue. Ruth, your commitment to women's leadership within your belief system is a powerful example of resilience and dedication. You're acting as an ambassador for interreligious dialogue and intercultural dialogue is great. We should all be doing that. Thank you, Ashna and Dia, for reminding us of the importance of engaging with a multi-faith, culturally diverse community and of the fundamental role of family in keeping religious traditions and values. Dia, as you will say, we all have to be open to share solutions for global challenges and to acknowledge that interfaith dialogue defies prejudices and misconceptions and is a great opportunity for learning. So let's take that opportunity. Ashna, how wisely you spoke about the importance of tolerance that leads us to accept and understand other people. Listening to these wonderful women has given me a true sense of hope and harmony in these historical moments in which we live or hear of so many attempts against concord and peace, as all of you have mentioned. These testimonies are hope-giving and important examples that demonstrate that mentorship can bring peace and harmony among populations. In our diversity as women of faith, we are spiritually together, trying to build bridges of hope and peace. I am sure the interreligious network of women cultivating encounter will continue serving as a guideline light for all of us. Our commitment, inspired by the culture of encounter described by Pope Francis in his encyclical Fratelli Tutte, is a testament to the power of women coming together to build harmony across religious and cultural boundaries. This webinar has truly showcased the incredible leadership, resilience, and dedication of women from diverse backgrounds who are committed to creating a more peaceful and understanding world. As we move forward, let us continue to embrace our diversity as a strength, educate ourselves and others, and amplify women's leadership in interreligious dialogue. Our manner of dialogue, grounded in presence, listening, and nonviolence, will pave the way for a world where authentic encounter prevails over bitter division. Our appreciation for all those courageous, committed, and resilient women of faith who, from their own religious traditions and wherever they are, sow seeds of peace. Many of them have preceded us. Thank you all once again for being a part of this transformative event. Together, we will continue building a culture of encounter and foster interfaith harmony. May our journey be filled with hope, resilience, and a deep commitment to the sacredness of all beings. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Monica. May we live in a world that is harmonious, where we can build harmony for future generations. May peace prevail on earth.
Yeah. Well, I think we just finished on time.
Yeah, we were good at time.
Good at time. So I don't know, maybe we can just stay a minute in silence, each one.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so
together.
much.
Yeah.
We're still live on YouTube, so maybe we need to close the YouTube link.